Why are some people able to achieve through horrific situations and some are not? It's mindset, right? It's the way they approach things mentally and emotionally, and the way they train their mind and their emotions to behave.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Heroes Like You podcast, where we explore the lives of people just like you and I who have faced significant adversity in their lives and have gone on to accomplish great things. My name is Joe Belliston, and today's hero is Brett Lechtenberg. Brett is someone that I met at an event that he organized called Operation Limitless. And the purpose of this course was to help build self-confidence by putting you in situations that were new and difficult and helping you achieve things that you haven't before. It was a great course for me to be part of, and the things that I learned from that have been super valuable in my life. Brett is a best-selling author, he's a martial arts instructor, he's a teacher, and he's a 7th degree black belt. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Brett Lechtenberg. Brett, thanks so much for taking time to come on the podcast. I know you're a busy guy.
Oh, I'm honored to be here.
I appreciate it. We talked about this earlier, but the whole purpose of the Heroes Like You podcast is to give hope and motivation, some inspiration to those facing challenges in life by learning from people who have faced their own adversity and have gone on to accomplish success.
Sure.
And you fit that category extremely well, in my opinion. First of all, you're a 7th degree black belt.
Yep.
Among
true.
other things.
Yep.
You're a business consultant, you're an owner of a martial arts studio, and you've been all over the news for some of the books you've written. Bestsellers, including Protecting Your Castle, Reclaiming Your Clock, and the one that we'll probably talk a little bit about today, the Anti-Bully Program.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, what does it take to become a 7th degree black belt? There's not many people in this world, even in the martial arts world, that can claim they accomplished that. So what goes into that?
A lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of determination. So it definitely doesn't come easy, and it doesn't come quick. So it has to be something that you really love to do, as success in anything or achievement in anything. It takes some time and dedication. You have to have a reason to want to do it, and you have to find good people to train with, because there's not a lot of people to train you to that level, right? So there's few and far between. So it was just something I always wanted to do, and when I got the opportunity to really be training seriously, I just stuck with it.
You just never stopped.
Yep.
What was the motivation? I mean, you had talent, you had a draw to that, obviously. You liked it. But was there any additional motivation?
So there was two things. One, the first time I ever saw martial arts on Kung Fu theater, right, as a little kid, I was like, that's cool, right? Two, I had a pretty abusive childhood for a section that always made me want to be able to protect myself and protect my mom. And so those were the two things. And so I guess just seeing the hardship of that abuse and being part of that, and then seeing something that looked like that could be an escape, right? That was the two motivating factors probably. And ever since then, I've always had a real desire to help make sure that nobody else ever got in those situations wherever possible, whether it was martial arts. I've been through bodyguard schools, counterterrorism stuff quite a bit, with the emphasis always on family protection, which has led to the anti-bully stuff and ability to design curriculum around those things, that kind of stuff.
Cool. Well, let's talk about your childhood for a minute.
Sure.
You had kind of what I would consider a unique childhood, as far as going back and forth between Washington and Alaska. You mentioned you were in an abusive situation at times. Talk a little bit about that if you can, and what your childhood was like. Sure.
So up till about 4th grade, I grew up with my mom, and I would see my dad on holidays,
So they were divorced.
They were divorced.
At a young age.
They got divorced when I was 2.
Okay.
They remained pretty good friends, but, on totally different paths, right? So my mom, I'll just leave it at this. She didn't always make really good decisions. She was a hardworking person, but there was a period of time where she didn't make really good decisions with guys. And she got involved with a couple different men that were not the nicest guys in the world, but one of them was really abusive. And it just took some time to get away from that. And we were in Washington for a while, then we moved to Alaska with this gentleman, and ultimately that's where also we're able to finally separate from him.
Okay.
And yeah, there was a few years where it's just really abusive. You see your mom getting beat up, you get beat up. You see a lot of violence, drinking, other things, and it's like, as a kid, you don't know what's normal, what's not normal, and you just know that it hurts and that mom's being hurt, and for whatever reason, it just took mom a while to get us out of that. And, fortunately, she did eventually. Life got better after that, for sure.
Right.
But in about fourth grade, when we moved back to Washington, she was with a different gentleman. He wasn't abusive, physically abusive. He was a little harsh at times, but there's just one day he and I had an argument, and I just said, I'm not going to ever go through that again. So I just left, and I ran away and started walking to my dad's house.
Oh, wow.
And one of my relatives happened to see me on the side of the road and yelled out to me and took me to my aunt and uncle's house, where they called my dad and said, we found your son on the side of the road trying to find you.
Wow.
I've always been a pretty independent person. So when I just had enough, I've had enough.
Wow.
So even at fourth grade.
I have a fourth grader. That's a pretty young age to be running away.
Yep.
So, well, you look back on that time now. What is one or maybe multiple lessons you learned from that time that's perhaps benefited you later on in life?
A lesson from that is you can decide for yourself what's right and wrong. Even at that age, fourth grade, third grade, I knew it was wrong. I didn't know necessarily how to get out of it. But once we were back in Washington, I was living close to my dad. I was just like, Dad won't do this, so I'm taking off.
Wow.
So no matter what situation you're in, there's always actions you can take. I'm a firm believer you get what you tolerate in this world, right? And so I definitely realize that people can be in difficult situations. I definitely realize that people can try a few avenues and kind of have doors closed on them, or have things can seem impossible or seem extremely difficult and feel extremely difficult. But there are always options. You just have to keep looking. You have to keep trying, right? You have to have that indomitable spirit.
Right.
So I would say that is the biggest lesson.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about this anti-bully program book that you wrote. First of all, what was the motivation behind it?
Having a martial arts school now for 23 years, we saw a lot of kids coming in being bullied, right? We also, heard about it on the news all the time. It's not quite as big a topic, at least news-wise as I see it, as it was there for a few years. And the place you never find bullying is in a martial arts school, right? Because
That's true.
We treat each other with self-respect first, respect for others second, right? And it's not okay to learn how to fight and defend yourself and then use that inappropriately, right? And in our martial arts school, I always took the approach is we use martial arts as a vehicle to teach leadership, to teach confidence, to teach self-esteem. It just happens to be the mechanism that we use. You could use anything you want as long as the lessons are built in and your program's built around that, right? And so we would get kids that come to us that had been bullied or were bullies, and we could fix that problem in just a few short days. It doesn't take months to fix. It takes a couple of days. So I tell everybody you can fix bullying in 3 days or less, guaranteed. But there's some caveats to that. Everybody has to be on board. And there's no faster way to stop it than bring everybody together involved in one spot and mediate and say, look, this is not okay. And this is what we need to do.
So everybody involved. That's the bully. That's the one being bullied. That's
their
parents potentially.
Anybody
involved.
Because if you don't do something about it, in my opinion, you're part of the problem. And that's not okay.
Well, we've been talking about it for years, how to stop bullying. And you say you have the secret sauce.
Well, here's the thing. You'll never stop bullying. That's part of the problem is adults always talk about, and they make this big case, we're going to stop bullying. You can't stop it. What you can do is mitigate it and you can reduce it because people will always make bad choices, right? It's just like traffic accidents. Think about all the things we have in place to prevent traffic accidents, from seat belts to airbags to traffic lights, stop signs. You have to take hours and hours of class. You have to go through driving lessons. You have to do all this stuff. But yet we still have traffic accidents. But we mitigate it greatly.
Okay.
Right? You're never going to stop bullying, so you need to stop lying to kids and giving them false hope about bullying. You need to teach them how to deal with it.
Okay.
Right? It's just like anything else. You teach people to deal with the circumstances, and you don't teach them about stranger danger and all that bunk. All you're doing is weakening people. You teach them how to deal with situations. You teach them how to read people. And once you do that, they have an understanding of that, and then teach them how to set boundaries for themselves and not tolerate inappropriate behavior from others. Then you have mitigated it down dramatically.
Interesting.
And then if you simply teach them how to protect themselves, and protect themselves doesn't mean you have to punch somebody in the face or whatever like you see on TV. It means to be able to put up boundaries, be able to walk away with dignity, right? We don't teach kids how to do that. We teach them how to be cowardice, and then they feel bad about it, and then they lash out, and then it just creates more of a problem. Yeah. And so instead of teaching people how to be confident, we've taught them many times how to be doormats. And so, it's like the whole, I'm going to get off on a rant, this whole nonviolence in school, and you can't fight. Well, there's people have confused fighting and self-defense, right? If somebody's trying to hurt you, you have the legal right anywhere in this country at any time, that includes school or anywhere else, to protect your well-being. But when you just tell people, oh, well, you got an altercation, you were in a fight, and then you're going to punish both sides, you've just weakened the good person, because now they think there's no hope, right? We've raised the level of hopelessness, right? And you've edified the bullies. Like, I can get away with it. There's nothing they can do about it. If you simply look at things from the standpoint of, did this person try and defend themselves? Okay, fine. The bully needs to be reprimanded. The person who defended themselves should probably be talked to and make sure that, they exhausted all options before it became physical, right? But if we taught them the skills in advance, how to go through a mental checklist, then that they got to the physical part last. Interesting.
And that's the same whether you're in grade school or college or in the workplace.
Absolutely.
The same principles apply.
Absolutely. If somebody broke into your house and you defended yourself, they'd be like, you're in your house. Well, what's the difference between your personal space and your house? Right? It's intent. It's intent. And so if I say, look, Joe, I don't appreciate that. Keep your hands to yourself. Leave me alone. And you continue to put your hands on me or grab me, push me, whatever. Well, there's a point where I'm going to feel like my physical being is about to be hurt. I have the right to protect myself. The law guarantees us that.
Right.
But when you tell a kid in school they can't do that, you have violated the levels of trust on many levels of trust, from my school's supposed to be looking out for me, my teachers, my parents, right? I mean, you take away hope from people, and that is a crippler.
That's excellent. I completely agree. Very, very good. You said many times self-confidence. And you teach people self-confidence, and that helps them in these situations. Either avoid them, mitigate them, or stop them completely, right? Let's talk a little bit more about self-confidence. How does one develop self-confidence? Maybe they've been in an abusive home. Maybe they're not as smart as the other kids. Maybe they've tried and tried and tried and failed and failed and failed. How do you teach someone self-confidence that just seems to keep running into a wall?
So self-confidence begins, like it says, with self. So through the Operation Limitless, what we were trying to develop and determine, is there a model for self-confidence that someone can use for themselves and that can be taught to others? And basically what we realized through performance psychology and through the other things that we did through martial arts is, yes, there absolutely is. And I coined the term, to my knowledge, personal confidence model. So the very first thing begins with self-talk. If you would go to a human performance psychologist and they were like, how do you develop a great athlete? The vast majority of them are going to say number one or number two. I say it's number one. Thing is self-talk. I can do it, right? I can do hard things, whatever, however you want to phrase it, but that they have positive self-talk. If you look at somebody who has no self-confidence or is greatly degraded, the very first thing you notice is they have a lot of negative self-talk. So we condition our mind based on what it hears first. And it hears our voice before it hears all other voices, right? What's the favorite word in the human vocabulary, right? It's your own name.
Right. Right.
Right? But it's also your own voice. So you have to tell yourself, and this is one of the things I train kids to do and adults to do all the time. Talk to yourself, whether it's silently or out loud, and tell yourself that you can do whatever it is put in front of you. Because if somebody ever did it in the past, that means somebody else can do it without hesitation.
Yeah.
Maybe we can't do everything, but we can do.
The possibility is there.
The possibility is definitely there, right? So positive self-talk. Then it's it's basically to determine what's possible, right? Is it possible to defeat a bully? Is it possible to climb a mountain? Is it possible? Well, yes. We can find examples of virtually anything we want to do somewhere throughout history or in our own communities, within the people that we know, whatever, right? And then it boils down to breaking down the pieces that you have direct control over.
Okay.
Right? And that's what we taught in Limitless, right? What are the things that you can actually do?
Sure.
What are the little pieces that you have control over? And then practice those pieces until they become reflex. That's the 4 steps. And so if you can pretty much break anything down into those 4 pieces, and that will teach you confidence, how you can teach another person confidence. It takes time. It's not fast.
Right. But it has to be consistent too. I mean, you can do self-talk and then a day of negative self-talk, right? And it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back, perhaps.
You have to build the discipline, right?
Yeah.
Everybody looks for the shortcut, which is fine. Shortcuts are great as long as you're not trying to skip steps. We were talking about this in a mastermind group yesterday. There are shorter cuts. Shortcuts have this thing where you're skipping steps. You're getting to the end.
Yeah.
Right? You're jumping from A to Z.
Right.
A shortcut is not A to Z. A shortcut is A through B, C, D, E, all the way to Z, but in a compressed time or in a compressed way. Not to skip, but to compress.
Sure.
So you have to practice confidence.
Yeah.
And you can. We can all practice by ourselves. We don't need anybody else.
Right. Excellent. I want to bring up one other thing. We talk about this on the podcast every time, and that's the suicide situation that we're finding ourselves in this society.
Yep.
And since 1999, the suicide rate has increased every single year. And there are places where it's decreased, but overall it's increased year after year. We don't know why. 2017 are the latest stats we have. Over 47,000 people took their lives in the United States. And there are a lot of reasons for that, I'm sure. In your opinion, why, this is a 2-part question. In your opinion, why are we seeing a continuous rise in suicide and depression? And 2, what can we do to mitigate that? How can we help people who are facing dark times where they feel there's no way out? How can we help them to get through these challenges?
Okay, so my opinion, through my own research, and basically that means standing on the shoulders of a bunch of people who've already done a lot of research, right, is that we have an increased sense of hopelessness in our country. If you look at adults, we're losing a lot of jobs, right? And we're not losing jobs because of one political party or the other. That's all hooey. We're losing them because of automation. We're losing them because they're being outsourced to things that are cheaper. We're not necessarily doing the things that we could do to keep our own skill sets up to go change with the times, right? I don't want to bash the education system, but it's not one born towards creativity. It's more like creating workers, right? Which the world needs workers, but we need creativity. As things advance, we need more creativity, right? We need that, and we need to foster that.
Yeah.
So as we get more hopelessness about our ability to generate income, to have a sustainable life and a good life, and people become depressed, right? They become anxious. Depression is looking at something in the past and being upset about that. Anxiousness is looking into the future and being, concerned and scared about that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we're not teaching people how to be mindful these days. We have become a culture, again, this is my opinion, of got to get it now, got to keep up with the Joneses. We're very consumer oriented. We're not creativity oriented as a general population. And so anytime you're more of a consumer than you are a creator, it's an addiction like anything else,
Sure.
right? I want more, do more, have more, right? What we really need to focus on is how to be more. But do we teach that to people? Do we teach people how to have empathy? Do we teach people how to be creative? Do we teach people how to live in the present moment and not be worried about the past and anxious about the future? Do we teach them architecture and then habits for that architecture to be what they want to be in the future? Not do, but be. Be a bigger,
good.
better person, right? There's some things rolling out over the next few weeks that I happen to be part of. Anyway, it's called The Most Important Conversations, and it's basically a worldwide program. There's about 200 of us around the world taking part in this training that is designed specifically to teach people to be more. Don't worry about doing more. Don't worry about consuming. Think about how to be and not be reactive, but be proactive. And it's basically mindset training that has dated back thousands of years. I mean, the
Right.
Stoic philosophers,
It's not new.
this is not new, but we've gotten away from it in a big way. And it's how to be creative, not be a consumer, right? It's pretty much everything that we've been talking about, kind of in a nutshell, in a 12-month training program. And I've been asked to be part of the program specifically centered around teens. One night a week, they'll get on a training. It's a 90-minute call. There'll be 45 minutes or so of training, 45 minutes of reflection and questions and answers, and then there'll be weekly practices that the teens will be asked to do all around the fields of mindfulness, creativity, understanding paradigms and paradoxes, and understanding how to architect your own life and live in the present moment versus be reactive and live by other people's value structures, that kind of stuff.
Very cool.
And so, yeah, it's very interesting stuff. It's great. I love it because it resonates very much with what we're already doing and
Right.
teaching people.
So if I'm listening to this and I'm anxious about the future, depressed about the past, not living in the present, and just keep hitting my head against a wall, how do I get involved in that? Or what other resources are out there to help me start some positive mental chatter and get my life on the right track?
Well, I would say if you want to look at that website, it's The Most Important Conversations. There's an S at the end, .com. And that has some programs in it for sure. The average person, though, if you were to simply start the practices of mindfulness, meditation, and appreciation, these things have been shown, over thousands of years. There's lots and lots of research to show that you can totally refocus your mind and reduce your stress, increase your positive outlook, begin to create architecture in your own life for what you want to do, right? So mindfulness has become a big topic of conversation, especially among military, high-performance athletes, things like that. But it's not new. It's been around since the beginning of, history, real history that we can document. And so understanding how to program your own mind.
And I think a lot of people look at that and say, that's just voodoo. People are just saying that I can't think something and make it happen, or I can't change my world just by thinking it.
Well,
what's your answer to that?
Well, I would say that perception is reality, right? You and I can sit and we can be in this room, we can look at everything, but you will perceive the things in this room differently than the way I perceive things in this room, even though it's identical, right? But why are some people able to achieve through horrific situations and some are not? It's mindset, right? It's the way they approach things mentally and emotionally, and the way they train their mind and their emotions to behave, right? Why will some amazing athletes rise in their sport, become amazing, and then self-sabotage and do crazy things? They would have wanted for nothing. They just have let their emotions and their mental state and also bad management, right, run wild. Where others will come from nothing and horrible hardships and go on and do great things in the world and still want for nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody listening to this can find their own research and find amazing people who come from nowhere and from nothing and create greatness, and other people who get everything you could possibly want in this world and then crash and burn and cause nothing but heartache. What's the difference? It's the way you train your mind. What are you going to do? What's your ethics? What's your values? That's why in Limitless, one of the first things we teach is values alignment, right? We want you to understand your values. Don't live by somebody else's, live by your own.
Right.
What are you really going to be in this world? But that comes from being your own person first. Be first, do later.
And again, to your point from earlier, it's not an overnight thing. It's consistency over time, and you will start seeing results and differences. But it does take effort, and it takes consistency.
Yeah, I think things like the law of attraction and The Secret and these kind of things, there's some real science grounded in those things. But I'm just going to say like The Secret, they make it sound too easy, right? It's not that those things don't work, but the law of attraction takes work. You will attract things into your life based on your intention and the architecture and the habits that you create, right? You created this life of being an audio engineer. I don't know what the specific title is, but an audio engineer,
That's good.
A podcaster, all this, because you found a passion for it. You decide, I like that. You start investigating that. You start getting into the world of audio and going deeper and deeper and finding the way you want. And eventually what happens? Here you are with your own podcast, here at your studio with this beautiful surroundings, putting out a podcast that is going to impact however many millions of lives over the time that this goes out. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because your intention is such that this is where you're going to go, and then you architected a life around that. I mean, your life is built around this, right? If your life is built around something positive, eventually positive will happen. If your life is built around who can I get over on tomorrow and what scam can I do or who can I pick on, bully or whatever, that's what you're going to draw to your life. That's attraction. Right? But it comes from intention. It comes from the architecture. It comes from your habits, right? And then there's all kinds of ways to look at your flow states and what you put together with, your trigger stacks, your habit stacks, your environment stacks, working your 5%. There's a number of these things that you can accelerate what you do. And it's not voodoo, like it does feel like it. Some people see it as voodoo, and I used to a certain extent, because I'd hear people talk about these things, and I'm like, you know what? You're just pitching crap, right? But once you understand how it all clicks together, it's like a puzzle. Put all the pieces together, what happens? The puzzle becomes clear. If you just try and ram pieces together with no forethought, you don't get a picture. You get, a pile of pieces that don't work.
Well, Brett, this has been so good. It's been great to learn from you. A couple of things before we let you go, though.
Sure.
For people that are facing hopelessness, and you've given us a lot already, but for someone who's really, thinking, I just can't go on, or there's no light at the end of the tunnel, what do you say to someone to motivate or inspire or encourage them to just get through this time? It will pass, and things will look brighter in the future.
Well, it's kind of exactly that. Just know that it's temporary, right? We tend to we react to things in the short run instead of think about things in the long run, right? We've got to teach ourselves to be less reactive and more proactive. So the first thing I would say is if you can start a simple mindset practice of a simple guided meditation where it's focused on appreciation, and maybe a simple journaling practice based on appreciation. And I use appreciation different than gratitude. I think they're two different things.
Explain that. Because first thought would be that's the same thing, a gratitude journal and an appreciation journal, though you're saying those are different.
In my opinion, they're very different things. Some people say it's semantics. I say no. Gratitude is, I'm grateful that you invited me on your podcast. You did something out of your way to give me something, give me an opportunity. But there's also appreciation, which means that's the actions that we take that draw good things towards us. Not everything happens because someone was generous and just gave things to us. So we are in control of our own future. I'm not giving away control to something else when it's me, right? I'm appreciative for the opportunities that I have in life, but I chose to go to college. I chose to join the martial arts. I chose to stick with it when I was hurt, bleeding, injured, whatever. I chose to learn how to market my business. I chose how to do certain things, and those choices brought things onto me. That's what I'm appreciative for. I'm grateful for the things that I didn't necessarily go out and do, but someone felt to do something for me. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I look at gratefulness and appreciation. I don't think all things come for no reason and it's just out in voodoo land. I'm appreciative for the actions I take to draw things onto myself.
Well, that's cool. I like that. Well, Brett, our time is short, but I want to thank you. I'm really appreciative that you are willing to come on the podcast and share your thoughts and your experiences and your expertise with us. And I know I'm better for it. I know our listeners are better for it. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and I wish you could have been here with Brett. He is such a fun guy to be around and so passionate and just really motivating when you're around him. And I'm glad he spent some time on the bully discussion. You know, I'm a guy who really feels bad when someone else gets picked on. I was the kid, whenever I went to scouting activities and someone else was being bullied, I'd be the one coming home in tears because I felt so bad for the other kid. And it's something I really feel passionate about, and I believe that we are all the same. No matter what our race, no matter what our gender, no matter what our backgrounds, no matter what our economic situation is, we're all the same, and we should treat each other as such. The golden rule is simple: treat people the way you would want to be treated. But I do also believe that we need to help people who are hurting inside, who haven't been taught how to control their emotions or to handle certain situations, and so they default to hurting other people. So I do think there's a discussion that needs to continue to happen. One last thing I'd like to touch on that Brett mentioned is that your life is built around what you put out. So if your life is built around positive things come back to you. If your life is built around negative things come back to you. I recently heard someone talking about our vibe, the vibes that we send out. And his point was that whatever vibes we send out, whatever we bring into a room, that's what's going to come back. If we send out positive vibes, we can expect positive things to come back. If we send out negative vibes, we can expect negative things to come back. So as we're mindful of that and as we train our minds to be more positive, then we will see more positivity coming back to us. And boy, if we could get society as a whole thinking that way, we'd be in a much better spot than we are now. Well, again, a big thanks to Brett for coming on the show and sharing his story with us, and a big, big thanks to you, the listener. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I hope that it's been valuable for you. My name is Joe Belliston. It's a great day to be alive. We'll see you next time, and God bless.